racial profiling there. I'm sorry to use the word. When those, like, for example, when Derry comes back to China and say that I want to give you a workshop, so I wanted to share something abroad or something. Because like, you're Chinese face, right? So I'm not quite sure that you're that international. We have so many choices. There are so many foreigners from other countries, so why we give you the chance? I think that is why Derry cannot take the case. I think also, yeah, it's a little bit interesting, right? I think it's a little bit interesting because you also see the hierarchies between the foreigners, Chinese people, and local people. You know, sometimes I feel that I talk to those Chinese teachers, they can also become the assistants in international schools, and tell me they feel a little bit frustrated because they feel they're demoralized since the principals are Chinese guys, but they don't give the chance to their, their friends or even Chinese people, their friends or even Chinese people, but they prefer the chances to those foreigners. Okay, just back to my case. Yeah. I had two problems when I conduct research. First is that I always want to find some, sites which is really typical. It's very hard for me to find what is kind of typical. Even myself cannot define the word typical. But it's one, I'm kind of an ambitious person, and I want to find a, kind of site that all the story can happen there. And when I make the observation, I can know everything around what I want to know. But when I'm really happy finding a place and go there, I find everything's out of control. I still remember the first investigation that after the first week of the investigation, I came back here and said that I find it's totally a disaster. Yeah.
Life is like that.
Yes. But then I just like, they don't want to tell me the truth, I find that, especially in those global places. Because they're employees. And if you you're really interested in the hierarchies, they will tell, oh, I love there. I'm kind of feel the company culture. I'm affiliated to here. I love the place. So that's why I prefer those people who just resign from the company. They're actually complaining the company, even curse their bosses and ex-bosses. But I don't think that I can just make the so-called participants a little bit specific and narrow if I only focus on those resigned people. So I don't know how to induce them or to lure them to say something that they really think about.
Okay, on the one hand you have a group that trash talks the place, on the other hand you have a group that of course is fears you as maybe being someone who reports back to management.
Yeah.
Could be. I mean, this is also then maybe this is an advantage that you have the connections, but also at the same time it could be seen as having a disadvantage because they say, why is she here? Usually we don't what the hell? Why is she here? And then who's she talking to? So this kind of people trust you in a way.
Yes.
So yeah, it's an issue of trust. And I don't know how to solve this. It depends on.
I went through the paper you gave us. I said that we should do everything via the affiliation, but I think the affiliation is so hard because if you want to conduct a program and want to it's time consuming, right? So become their friends and make them to trust you. It's really hard. I felt hostility there because they know that my parents are the boss's friends. So I really feel that they were just kind of people.
Okay, this is tough, yeah. Okay, I mean,
but you're not psychologists, right? Or at least you are not. I don't know the others. So it's not the point to go into people's minds and see what they really think.
Okay.
Right.
I just think when they say something, but we can feel that they just want to say the opposite, right?
Yeah, but we can discuss this later. But I think that there is something there. It's not about it's not about. I don't think it's about methodology. It's about theory. I don't think that the point is to say we want them to tell us what they really think because we don't know, we don't care. I mean, we are interested in the social dimension of what they are saying. Like you call it culture. So the point is that the way they talk to you is is a kind of a specific institutional register. right? An institutional way of speaking, and you're documenting that the other who resigned are not kind of more sincere than those who work there. They just use other kind of, doing culture, speaking. So it's kind of, I would be kind of careful with kind of, they are not really telling me what they really think, because they really think, well, who cares? I think nowadays, in the next minute, I think something else. Sometimes I don't know what I think, so there are some of your former tutors and teachers who would say, we could have a more, psychoanalytical approach to what people really think. And there are some methods that we can use, but it doesn't seem to me that this is, if you want to do that, yeah, but it's not necessary to do this, to have a psychoanalytical approach and look at what people really think, to go behind. But we look at just surface practices, and then of course you look at, okay, how come that they speak in that way, and then often it's kind of institutional, so this kind of culture of smile. Not necessarily in a Cameron sense, but kind of in these kind of businesses where everybody looks well and nice and beautiful, and everybody nice and is optimistic, and that kind of thing. It's not just that it's not insincere, but it tells us something about the way that institutions functions, and how people are professional. You see?
Yeah, that's interesting. Like talk later about it.
Yeah, that's stuff.
Did it play a role, or maybe they're just impersonating their workplace culture in a way, in a more narrow sense?
Yeah.
I guess this is interesting. Yeah, of course. I mean, I see the problem, like finding out what people really think, but yeah, you don't know. You never know what.
But would that make my data a little bit subjective? Because that is not what they tell me, but kind of how I picture what they think.
Okay, I mean, this is not like what they tell you is not all you have, basically, in terms of your data. You probably have data about, I don't know, training in workplaces. You know maybe about the trajectory of people, where they came from, where they aspire to go, or you have like, you talk to senior management, you talk to like former people, you talk to maybe trainees or interns, or so broad scope, and then so it won't be biased as such. But again, you can't. I mean, and then like most of social sciences won't work if you just always want to or have like an idea what the truth is, or when you have an assumption like before that. So what would be your what would you think? What would mirror or resemble the truth in a way? What just a more balanced account of their work lives, or telling you we are miserable here in this place? What would you expect if they would be honest?
I expect they tell me some miserable and pathetic stories, but they shows off the optimistic. They shows that they love the place, but I don't believe it.
So what if you kind of follow them outside the workplace?
I think that actually they're gonna reject it. Because in the workplace, because I got permission from their boss, but out of the.
Because they might not be comfortable telling you stuff in that space,
right.
Thinking somebody might be saying, maybe they would be more relaxed, in with their friends, or I don't know, granting about, what happened at work.
Yes, yeah, I see the point, but then maybe it could be also happen that they will think, oh God, now the friend of my boss is following me using my free time,
Big brother is watching you.
This is not your intention, but yeah, you know what I mean.
Yeah. Do they already know who you are?
I think so. Yeah. And also I hate information shit, because you're gonna tell them who I am. Right, that's ethics issue.
But you are a researcher, but you don't need to tell them the relationship between you and your boss.
Yeah, but needs to know that.
I hate to, but I don't know how they know. I don't tell them, but actually I know that. this kind of gossip talk is kind of the capture of the company. Like a talk that just among the birds.
Is it a setting where it helps to like really those like good forms and that you assure them I won't talk or okay, I mean like
So for my MA, actually I also suggest them to just spend more time on the observation, but not interview.
Yeah.
Mm.
Actually, through observation, I did photos.
yeah.
I think that it's very interesting, right? I think that the kind of I wouldn't underestimate the kind of happiness or the kind of so why it's kind of I wouldn't look for something else, I would just look at what's going on, and how come that it's going on in this specific way and not in another way. What is it telling us about this place, about the life of these individuals? And then yeah, through observations, because if you spend a year there, then people, even if they have to be happy because it's being a good professional is somebody who is always happy and positive and optimistic. If there are miserable people and you spend a year there, you will see them. I promise. But you need, then you need to be a year there, right? And you really go, and then, it's not ideal, as you say, you're the friend of the boss, but then it's, then Algar is describing this very well, right? So if the conditions are not good, because you enter top down, because if you are introduced by the boss and then everybody it's complicated, of course. But if you spend 3-4 months there just trying to build rapport and making people understand that you may be kind of the situation may be a bit incestuous, but still you are kind of you have your own questions. You may can get access to other issues too.
And you can work maybe like not only to observe, but engage in like whatever, like what do they do there?
Actually, I did.
Okay.
Yeah, I engage in their like business trip and everything.
At work, like
For
10
sure.
hours a day.
Yeah, but it's a little bit embarrassing. I'm just standing there when they just hold meeting and to observe everything. Yeah. But I'm kind of interested. I feel that I always want to find truth. I want to find how we feel indeed. But right now, if I really tell them that I'm the friend of their boss, they get wear the mask. But I'm a little bit interested in the mask. Why they wear the mask and how they pretend to be someone that can better survive in the company. Isn't it interesting?
I think people call this identity. That I don't like that, but this is what we have been doing for decades, right? This kind of why people kind of do what they do and enact specific roles. But in your MA, there is a lot of conflict and tension in your kind of what I'm reading. So it's not the mask is not very kind of. You're doing a great job. I wouldn't worry so much.
Cool. Sounds good.
Okay, I definitely did experience some difficulties in recruiting my participants because at first I tried to find some, because I was not a teacher, I didn't have a classroom of students. I need to find some students as an individual student who are using mobile apps for English speaking learning. So I even don't know where I should get started. So I contact my cousins and ask them to come to some snowboarding with their university, some classmates there. But I got quite a few, only 1 or 2 students who were interested in my research. And also my supervisor said they may have different motivations for learning English speaking. So then he suggested me to, through the IOE, the PASH course, that's a pre-sessional English language course, who wanted to start their MA later on. So I contacted the tutor, the course leader of that course, and I had the opportunity to give a 10 minutes talk about my research in front of like 200 or 300 students in
Soccer problems.
So after that, I leave my contact information, and immediately about 30 to 40 students contact me, and I end up with 14 participants. I didn't. They were all international students, but most of them were Chinese students. So I have 14 Chinese students there. So I think.
Were you happy?
Yeah, I'm quite happy with that. Yeah. And also because they were there for language learning, and they wanted to know how to do research in future. So me for them would be a kind of consultant in some way. So there's an exchange between us. I observe them, interview them, how they use their apps for language learning, and they can also get some advice or some feedback on the way they learn language. So I think we had good relationships, and I think they were very open to me. And I didn't see any reason why they couldn't be open, because it's only about language learning. I did interviews, group interviews, observation, but just in the institute bar to observe how to use mobile apps. I couldn't follow them in their life world. So I don't know if my research is about ethnographic research, or if I just call it case study at this point. I wanted to get the trajectory of their learning process, how they choose the app, why they use it, and in which ways, and how learning occurs, and also the ecology of the learning process. But I think it's not easy to get everything about their learning process, so just interview, observation. And some students, they record their, keep learner logs, how long and where they use it, for what reason.
Did you report back to them regularly?
Not really. I would like to report back to them after my initial findings, and also I think I need to report to the course leader, because she said she was interested in how the students learning language outside of the classroom, and it might be helpful because it involves some technologies.
Is there things you would do differently? Like now you're in your fourth year, so is there stuff you would say you did some mistakes at the beginning?
Well, I wouldn't call it mistakes, but I tried it, and I think via the institution would be a much quick way and effective and efficient way to recruit your participants.
Yeah, especially in the setting. I mean, if you have a ready-made classroom.
Yes.
Already there.
Sorry, can I ask something before continuing? This is like the third or fourth time in the week that I hear that I'm doing a case study with the ethnographic approach.
Yeah,
like people are kind of afraid of calling it like ethnography. So
yeah, okay.
How good, how bad?
Is ethnography a methodology? Can we call it a methodology? Because the case study, some people say it's not a methodology, so they just use approach to call this
ethnographic approach.
Yeah.
Ethnography.
I have my place is also very like even less than here, not so convinced of ethnography sometimes in different fields, and people have this problem as well, like calling it ethnography and ethnography, not like case study or whatever. So it's a way of doing research. I don't know, but how do you frame it here?
There is no here. So there is, I think there are so many different ways of framing it. But I noticed that too. I thought, that's weird. It's already the second or third time that it. I think that. I don't know what to think. So I think that the case study, I have, I did my PhD in a business school, and they talked a lot about case studies, and I actually spent 5 years there, and I actually, after 5 years, I still didn't understand exactly what a case study is. So I think they used the word case study just when they were talking about non-quantitative work. So qualitative work was per definition case study. And then case study with an ethnographic approach is, so I understand it, but you would have to tell us what a case study with what, because I don't know what it means. So does it mean that you use kind of some tools from ethnography to look at a specific case? So what I know, and then I'm gonna shut up, is when I talk to colleagues, I see that there are a lot of kind of these very weird assumptions about what ethnography is. Say weird because they don't match my kind of ideas of what it is and what it's not. But yeah, I don't know. So why are you calling it?
I think for me, case study is both a safe word and very not safe word, because every research could be called as a case study, like your case and your case. So I just use a qualitative case study in my title right now. But I'm not sure, maybe I would not very emphasize that this is a case study, but a qualitative research rather than to say it's
because you would have 14 case studies, no?
Or even more than that, because my participant is not my case.
Voilà.
I think one participant with an app and for a specific learning goal would be a learning case rather than a participant. Well, I'm not quite sure about what I should call it case study. And if it's called case study now, whether I should call it ethnographic research really depends on how much details I get from the and the ways I collect data, I think.
I'm a bit more purist than you know that when it comes to ethnography, right? I think that ethnography is not just, going there asking questions and looking at people and observing. So, but it's kind of asking specific type of, Algar says it too, right? It's kind of asking specific kind of questions. And, but since I have not so much influence in that, this institute is not, this anxiety doesn't come from me.
Not just, maybe I'm completely wrong, but my understanding is that ethnography is a lot of observation as well, kind of following people in their daily routines. So you have to, it's not in the one space where they all engage. They go and do their lives, and you follow them through their networks, their free time, what they do, and you take in not just the linguistic side, for example, but the semiotic side. So there's a lot more coming into it, so then, how they dress, what movies they watch, where they shop, things like that could also be part of ethnographic research. So it's quite a complex thing, and it could be quite messy. And also, it's done over a longer period of time. That's what I understood as well.
It should be. I mean, yeah, we had once in Fribourg there was this circulating scavenging ethnography. Scavenging ethnography, like getting in somewhere, like, and then getting out quickly, and then calling it like kind of an in-depth analysis of blah blah whatever. No, but I would also understand it like you do.
I'm doing just that. I'm doing linguistic ethnography of Slovak migrants.
So this is another concept. It's another concept. Sorry, for us coming from outside the UK, this is another concept. Linguistic ethnography.
So basically, I anticipate difficulties with getting participants who have that richness of information that I'm looking for, mostly because of me being able to access certain, I shouldn't be saying it like that, but layers of society. So me being able to approach people who have come over and are in manual jobs, for example, that I don't have access to. I just don't know how to find these participants. So I thought, I would start with Facebook, and there are certain groups, and I would try and contact them like that, see what happens. And then there are organizations like cultural beacons of, what being Slovak means, but only certain kinds of people engage in these and attend those events, and you are of a social position in society, you've made it, and you kind of take pride in participating in these cultural displays of what it means to be Slovak. But what about those others who don't want to really talk to a researcher, yet they might have very interesting data, because I'm going to investigate how the language learning affects our competencies in life, which is competence is a broad concept in itself. There could be a range of them, and I'm interested in the whole kind of sample of the society, not just those people with university education who are doing well, and they have access to resources and have certain status. So that's the kind of thing I'm thinking about. How do I do that? I think that's the main one.
How you get to yeah, okay. So if you would, for instance, just focus on a Slovak community center or church, or you get only very specific kind of people. If you go to a Slovak shop, you maybe only have very specific kind of people who like Slovak food.
Yeah. Because some, there's this trust that we've talked about, that they simply don't want to be making friends with any other Slovaks, for example,
Oh,
They want to stay away, as because there is something like suspicion, somebody's going to want something from me, I don't want to engage with these people. So, they might not want to be, attending any events, at the embassy, or, go to church, or, even go to Slovak shop. So, I would feel like, it's skewed, and it's just focused on, certain levels of education background and language proficiency. And I'll end up with this elite, like the cream, and then it won't be very reliable, so yeah, that's my point.
So you wanna have access to the guy who drives the delivery van, or
Yeah.
Okay.
And it's not just that, because Slovak migrants here are from different backgrounds, so there's like Hungarians, or Roma ethnic people, or Czechs or Poles, and it all comes into that, so I'm thinking about culture, that will be another thing that I will have to consider. How do I streamline it? How do I, select? So first I want access to all of them, and then I want to choose based on what.
Yeah, and based on also, in general, is it so easy, like to say who's Slovak and who's maybe Czech, or who says he's Czechoslovak, or I don't know?
There could be like ties with, one parent with Czech, the other Slovak, so there is like a mixed heritage, so there is a hybrid already, and then you end up with, them coming over here and engaging with other cultures, and, it's kind of, some are married to, British people and so on, so there are lots of things that come into.
Yeah, then already this designation of Slovak becomes somehow problematic in a way. Yeah, I see that. Would you? How could you open up this? Or how could you? It's basically a question of first both conceptualization, and then also simply getting to know them.
But how could they engage with me? You see, I can't say, I'm a researcher, I want to find out about your life, you know, it's like,
Yeah.
Any problems in life?
yeah, yeah.
How many practice?
I don't know yet, because I understand that, you know, if you want to do proper ethnographic research, you can't have tens and hundreds of them. So I anticipate I'll have about 6, 7 people maybe at the end of this process. So starting with surveys to as many as, and then narrowing it down to a handful. So that would potentially, you know, be able to follow in their life. You know.
But what do you think, what is the most, for people who just arrived, for example?
Yeah.
What matters to them most?
Survival.
Okay. So why don't you just tell them, I'm a social scientist, and I'm paid to understand what are the challenges that migrants, but especially Slovaks, experience when they arrive here. How do you, I'm paid to understand this, and then people will quickly come up, or often question. So I'm a language researcher. I'm a language researcher. I want to understand the difficulties. So I'm studying the difficulties that Slovaks encounter when they arrive here. So how they learn the language, how they kind of do the things, get access to jobs. I think people can rely very quickly, because this is kind of what matters to them most, right? And then perhaps you're just looking at one aspect, or not, or I don't know. But so again, it's kind of connected to what we said before, right? So the questions that we ask need to kind of be part of the universe that these individuals can in a way navigate, right? Even the language that we use, right? The kind of technical language that makes sense. You know, I'm doing an ethnography trajectories of professionals. You know, that's the title of a journal article. So when I'm listening to you, I think I see the point. I see your questions, but I think it's feasible, right?
I thought that was just crazy, you know.
No,
I'm going to do so many things with, you know, ads. I haven't mentioned identity. That's like the overarching.
But you always start like this, right? So it's always.
I'm hoping that it will.
No, but it will come automatically, just because you will have to deal with what you have, right? Because now ideally you want people from all over the world, right? But then you will end up with just a couple of, and then you will have to just cope, and then I think church is a good place. It's not because of the religious aspect. It's just because there, you have different people from, different layers of society, if you will.
Yeah, true. Also, community centers in the north of
Yeah.
England, we have like the Poles are coming home now, and the Romanians are coming in, and they establish kind of like community centers that are like, there's nothing, but it's not about not a place of worship or anything, but they really provide like help to go to job center, help to if you even in the hospital to interpret, and like very grassroots things, not at all attached to any prestige or anything. So very low-key affairs. Or even if you like also I've noticed like Romanian kind of, those are run by the church, but they're like missions in a way, where people, like destitute people go.
So you need to look at these brokers, these gatekeepers, and sometimes so these are known, right? Already when people leave, okay, these are my interlocutors.
Exactly. And there the things will turn up like a total different aspect of local economies. Just like recently I was, Preston is quite a destitute post-industrial town next to Lancaster, and I was standing there at the bus station, and there came a bus from a little town in Romania, from like Târgu Mureș, Preston, non-stop, like what? And a bus that goes every week.
Yeah.
And like, okay, so there are also like some trying to maybe find this kind of like informal economy things, and they will have to like
Slovak shops.
Yeah,
Something like, yeah.
It's like there's a whole migrant economy that is kind of visible if you are a mainstream UK person in a way. Like there's like also just for instance in Germany we have informal mail services, so you have minibuses traveling through all of Eastern Europe, and taking luggage, taking people, everything. So very informal. You really find it only on WhatsApp or on Facebook, but not nowhere else. So this kind of other kind of alternative networks and stuff going on.
But I think so. I don't know what training you had, but you sound a bit, the kind of this is ethnography or this is qualitative research. It doesn't have to be representative, in terms of the sample. It doesn't have to be. Somebody said it's subjective. It doesn't have to be objective, or the quality criteria are different, right? So you just work with what you get, and then you rationalize afterwards why these people are good to look at. But so I wouldn't, because you come into a lot of problems. So if you look at social strata, right? So okay, you don't want to look at just at the elite. Okay, what is the elite? And you have,
Yeah, they should be part of this, definitely. I mean, if you why not? I mean, it could be like the guy or the woman who made it, like who's now a professional here and like kind of.
And rather than bring on the biases, so that would be another thing I need to kind of.
But you're a human being. We have all our biases. We can't escape them. Even those who say that they don't have bias, the hard scientists, they work with instruments. Every time that the instruments improve, their results improve. They are different. They have no bias, of course. Their instruments are their bias, and our instrument is our body, and it's our bias. We just need to be conscious of it. Our colleagues in my department who do the eye tracking. Every time they buy a new eye tracker that is better, they have other results. Right? That's science, and you should have a bit of critical kind of understanding of what bias is and what bias does.
And I think for me, it's helpful to not think about sample, because it's in quantitative research. You have sample and you have sample of the population.
Yeah.
But here, you don't even use the word sample. Maybe it's helpful to me.
It makes it easier in a way. Otherwise you're preset to like I have to like have this kind of number or like the social strata and like this origin. So yeah.
But it's true that what you said before, right? So if you go to the church, then you need to take into account that the people that you're working with go to the church, right? So there is this kind of component, right? The kind of access that you have structures in the way everything.
Yes.
Yeah, and that's not bad. It's just you need to take that into account.
Yeah, acknowledge it in a way. So.
Oh, well, in my case, I mean, to be honest, I haven't thought about that very much about like the places, the sites I'm going to research in. But what I can anticipate is the fact that I'd like to work with students and teachers and the organizations in the English programs at certain universities. I have two possibilities. Those two possibilities are very different. One is a public university and the other one is a private university. I worked in both of them. But the public is huge, just like UCL, so getting access probably means like, getting ethical approval. I don't know, like the people in charge. I know many teachers there, but not like the boss, When in the private, it's almost like a school. It's very small, and I know everyone there. But then, I mean, it doesn't really matter because I need to think on what I want to know, right? what I want to
What you want to find out.
find out, right?
Okay.
But what struggles me when I think about it, and if I have to make a decision, is the fact that in the public universities you get the students basically from high school, and the private university is the ones that can pay. I don't know.
Again, you have the same issue, right? You go to church, you have people who go to church.
Always kind of a selection going on, yeah. What exactly do you want to find out? Just like
No, I just want to like study the circulation of forms of English and how it's performed, how it's like embodied into the students and the teachers and the people and the organizations. And then how it works in the labor market, and probably follow students when they graduate and they get into the job market and see how that works.
And do a comparative. And then it becomes political again. That is something like, oh, somebody's got access to this because they have money. Without these, but it might be interesting. Might be very interesting.
I'm also thinking about the practicalities behind.
Yeah, sure, it's hell.
Yes.
I always love this. You have to be serious. This is
Tough, yeah. I mean, it depends in a way again. This is, yeah. What are you looking for? What are you looking for? But what do you like wanna kind of? First of all, it's an issue. Are you comfortable with, or maybe more comfortable with one research site than the other? Might be in a way. I mean, easier, obviously, you said that, but would you then does it make what makes more sense to you? This is also the other thing.
No, I have no idea. I don't know yet. It's difficult to think about it.
that's a fundamental question, right?
Is it a part of it just influenced by that you're put off by the whole bureaucracy thing in the public one?
But you know what? I mean, yes. I studied in the public university. I know the site very well, but in this private university, in this other university I worked at, people go there because they can pay, but they're not necessarily rich. They're actually very poor. They belong to vulnerable groups. They get loans from a bank to get access to education. So,
Okay, so
you
so
know,
it's a different maybe more very Western concept of private education versus public education. Yeah, is kind of reversed in a way. So not so smart kids.
No, not at all. Actually, they get like the lower scores in the university admission tests because they come from vulnerable situations.
That's a wonderful site, isn't it?
This is what Bonio Chori, by the way. Do you know Bonio Chori? So this is a professor from the US who is actually looking at very prestigious women colleges, but in the US. But the kind of programs she's looking at are this, right? Are kind of programs sponsored by banks, but kind of who kind of targets this section of the population.
I'm sorry about the comparison. Are there any ethnographic works like focused on comparison? I personally don't see the point of doing ethnography and doing a comparison study. I don't see the point of that. Because I heard a rumor that he doesn't like comparison. I don't know.
I'm not aware of really like someone putting forward, like bringing forward comparing. No, I mean, of course, people look at different ethnographic research and see, okay, what they found out and what they found out and so on. But within comparing, how can you even compare this? Because it's again coming back to this subjectivity thing, like or like being like it's not objective, whatever it means. Yeah. How can you compare? Like, yeah, you can't. No.
But if I were in Romy situation, I really want to include both institutions if possible. Of course, it's a huge thing, but.
I mean, yes, because in the end, when they get into the labor market, it would be interesting to see how they manage their resources. It's not linguistically speaking, I mean, the place they belong to.
But then it's not comparing, right?
Yeah.
So the point is not to compare.
It's just one kind of site, but a large site of higher education in Chile. So
okay.
Or the way you put it, the way to look at how a specific promise ideology kind of operates in different, the same kind of idea kind of circulates and operates and has different effects. But it's not looking at, okay, let's look at A and then let's look at B and let's look at the similarities and differences.
You don't compare, you just highlight what happens in different places under the same framework you designed, basically.
I think you may have some comparison when you analyze your database. May not be called a proper comparison.
I'm always confused with this thing, comparing.
Ethnographic is a little bit more rounded, so you cannot limit it to a certain aspect than to compare.
Comparison can go into another direction, like people who just focus on comparison. Yeah, like it's not methodologically speaking, but more like a theoretical building. It's like comparison studies.
Yeah, but what I see in Romy's case is like the two universities are very different. So in the end, when you have different cases from each of the university, then you discuss the data.
Cross-data analysis.
Don't you think it's already there? Like the so-called comparison is already there. Like I talk about what happened there. I talk about what. Of course, I'm not comparing them. No. But the difference is already there.
Will you choose it?
Yeah, and then people might ask, why these two? Why these two? Because I think two might be even harder to justify than one. Because like two, like this is here, this is here. So people say, oh, are you trying to compare? Are you trying to generalize? I don't know. I would do both. I mean, if I were you, I would do both. I just find it hard to justify.
But I'm not going to be biased, but what I think I will get is in the end the promise of English is not does not work only as a linguistic, it's something more. It's always something more. And for example, in that case, I will see that the students, the graduates from the public university will probably get better jobs and better well-paid jobs than the students from the other university.
Yeah, of course, there is always a way to go around it, but it's just a.
You can do. I mean, you still can do that. Like you take the data from various sites, but
then I can choose.
Exactly.
I was actually thinking about that, like going to both sites and like at the end.
Nah.
No?
You're too selective, really. I mean,
Okay.
What do you mean by too selective?
No, but no, this seems like, okay, this doesn't fit in my narrative. What promise of English worked out? Nah, this is part of it. So, yeah.
Okay, so I need to.
That one. I mean, seriously, and you were
I am. She is the researcher. She does what she wants. I don't think, comparison comes from another framework as has been taught, right? It's kind of from quantitative study, positivistic studies, thinking, okay, that there is something out there that we can define precisely, and that thing out there can be compared with that thing out there because it's of the same nature. So then we look at how this kind of happens here and how it happens here, then we make comparisons. But there are, as you said, there are kind of fundamental, whatever. I will do into a completely different direction. I don't think that there is something out there. I don't think that it can be compared. I don't think that it's kind of a completely different way of understanding and looking at things. I think that in your case it's clear. You're looking at if we simplify, you're looking at an ideology, the ideology of English as the trigger of social mobility. And you look at the effects of this. First of all, how this kind of ideology circulates across spaces, how it affects people and practices. And since we are not on the structuralism, the idea is that it doesn't have just one effect, but it is contradictory, it has multiple effects, and we need to understand the multi-layeredness and complexity of the process. That's why we look at different outcomes, and not because we want to compare them, but because we want to look at how complex the process is. Because we can't compare them because the situations are not comparable. Different peoples, different situations, they woke up, were in a bad mood because they missed the bus. How do you want to compare that with something that's happening somewhere else? There are different processes. Different people with different life trajectories.
Sorry, would you share insight into?
Yes, about my access, I'm going to look biliteracy development in school and community. In the same community, I mean, it's the same community, but I want to know, because a lot of the literature research on churches, on Sunday schools, markets, things like that, how they develop literacy in the first language of migrant communities. So I already have the access in the school because all my research interesting started because I was volunteering in the school. So I already have a report and I'm done with that. I'm going to be teacher assistant in year 2. So that will help me to have all this insight in the classroom. And on the community side, I'm thinking how I'm going to get there. I have a friend of mine, she lives in that community, Haitian. She's Haitian, so she's going to take me to her church. So that's going to be good, but it's only one church, and I don't know if the children that participate in that church are the same that are in the school. So I need to manage how I'm going to present this data if the children that I'm able to observe outside the school are not the same as the ones in the school. I'm not sure if I'm explaining very well, but I'm going to focus it like a school ethnography classroom, in the classroom, what's happening in the classroom, or with these different children in different sites, or I'm going to try to look one specific or 2, 3, 4 that I can observe in the classroom and outside the classroom. So I'm struggling with that. I'm going to be flexible in whatever I can go into. Hopefully, as I'm more from this new literacy studies current, I would love to go inside the household and look what is happening there, what are the literacy practices of the house. But I don't know if I can go inside the house of a children that is in the same school. Maybe not. So I have to be open and try to go inside the household, even though the children is not from the school. But I'm not sure how to present that.
Oh, okay, so yeah, if people do like this trajectory thing, it's easier, of course, when you just stick to a person. But you think it's not doable, just practically?
Maybe not. I don't. Hopefully, but I'm going to, I have to go back to Chile. I'm going to be there only for 4 months and a half. I'm not sure if in that time I can do that.
I mean, you still can continue in a way, also not in the same way, but still certainly you stay engaged with them also from a distance.
Yeah.
And you can just you can see what they post on Facebook. You can appreciate that, or you can maybe Skype with them, like or engage in any other meaningful conversation with them, even from here. Learn about their achievements or whatever happened. So yeah, I mean it's not the same, but it's still also a way of keeping basically communication open, and also like as they go along wherever, then you still basically are following them, not in the same way.
Perhaps you have to focus. It's the same issue like in your case. I think that we tend to think ourselves in terms of sites. We tend to think our study in terms of sites. So, okay, how am I going to connect the school, the church, or the school? But I think in your case, one way out would be focus on the process. The process is built by literacy.
Yeah.
Look at how patients, that category is already, well, you take that category for granted, and you look at how Asians, children, develop by literacy. And the different spaces that they are invested in, then you don't have to take for granted that they are doing it at school. As you say, actually it happens a lot of other places, right? So that you look at the different practices happening in different places, and it's already strategically for your upgrade. Because it's true that if you are gonna put it the way you do, you are not getting up. You will not be upgraded. I promise. Because then they will say, yeah, but it's not the same people, and how can you anticipate this and this? They enter again in the kind of comparison, right?
Yeah.
So you are comparing apple with bananas. I would focus on the process. You said you make an ethnography of bilingual, bilateral development, biliteracy, and you look at the different kind of places, this occurs, and of course, school is a prominent site, but there are other sites like the church, and you have kind of different accesses to these different. Just come up with another 2 or 3 other sites. So that,
I know already the market.
Yeah.
There's a market, and I can have access to it, and some other instances. And what you say makes sense to me, because I also don't want to get in touch with the church or the households through the school. I would prefer to go around the school. I don't want to be the school idea in the house, because they already have problems, because social workers from the schools are going to the households and judging and doing a lot of things.
How did you call this at the beginning when you asked Rumi, how is this in English?
Población.
Yes, población.
It's a neighborhood.
It's a neighborhood.
So you can,
But it's smaller than a neighborhood, and it has the particularity that it was an occupation in the 40s.
Take that as a site. Say that you are doing an ethnography of that thing, and then it's bounded enough for kind of old-fashioned that they can see, okay, because when me too, when we do kind of this kind of work, the reviewers look at, is it feasible? In your case, you will have to work on this, because it's going in all direction. It's not feasible. You are not going to make it in so and so many years. So you need to kind of calm them down. Okay, this is kind of the bounded. And then we don't care what you do, is there something else? But that it's clear, it's kind of this kind of, you can define it very clearly. It's kind of this area, these sites. You see what I mean?
Yeah, absolutely. No, it makes a lot of sense, because as it's like it was an occupation, it has this intense political story, and the school is part of Jesuits, and the Jesuits had a big role in the población. Like this political thing in the dictatorship and everything, so it's like super bounded.
Yeah.
So it makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
Okay.
I have a quick question. Since accessing to the participants is very difficult, can we do the ethnographic research on our own, like I'm a researcher and I'm studying my own and
Auto.
yeah.
This is my dream.
You're always with yourself to go anywhere and hopefully.
You just run to that area and then use some
And or with some like your family member, it's very easy. You can go with them. Or maybe some like linguistics of their own children learning languages.
Oh, many do this, yeah. I mean, they're all researchers. There's someone at Birkbeck actually who did that. So yeah, this is, people do this all the time.
There is a lot of literature as well.
Yeah, there's
People are not ashamed.
a lot of the groundbreaking stuff, yeah.
So in language, in first language acquisition, there's a lot of, it's very problematic, it's very genuine, because when mamas who study their kids or something. But I think there is as well a lot of auto ethnography.
Yeah, definitely. I don't know more about critical ethnographies, I don't know so well. Also, like, but definitely.
Chicano feminists, that correct, they do a lot of ethnographies. Latinos in the States, kind of correct, they work a lot on ethnographies.
Of course, I think every project is in a way ethnographic in the sense of that we are heavily involved in what we do, right? Yeah. So it's kind of, because what we choose. That's why the question, which school, is not a bound question, right? It's because, so are you now, there's no right or wrong, but are you interested in working class or are you interested in elites, right? So, I know, Miguel says he works on elites. I am definitely not working on elites, right? So I think it's not a banal question.
Yeah, it's more about open focus, like keeping it, not narrowing yourself down to one group, because there's always these then that you presuppose stuff. Works well. Okay, hey, it's time. We're past 3 hours. Is there any questions left?
Do you have time? That I just got some ideas from what we have talked.
Sure.
Like how most people those guys selling the big issue, they try to make money by themselves. They are different from those on the street who are just begging for something. And also I knew a person, she is a new PhD working in a homeless shelter, like a center. I don't know how that kind of center operates, but I think those kind of group homeless I am choosing is different from others, right?
Okay, like in the hierarchy?
I don't know, I'm not sure. But in my mind, I feel like it is a little bit safer for me to approach them.
What I definitely would do in your case is I would go to like sociology and urban sociology. Do you have something like this here maybe? And there is, I think, a lot of research on like on not the language, not so much. It's all ethnographic about like how hierarchies play out on the street, like who's.
There are hierarchies because they probably stay in different streets, different areas.
Okay.
I mean, I also want to study the language connection that may make them can own this area, or the language reason that can make them sell more newspaper than others. I mean, and then this is what I mean. I took this group as a starting point, and then to see how language can be connected with homeless people different district or different area. Are they white or are they migrants from Europe or something?
So, how you best approach this, right? I mean, oh, I didn't get the question.
No, my question is that I'm not sure. Is it? I don't know.
What's the safest way in a way, or like what's the most?
No, I mean I choose this group, but I don't want to limit my analysts in this group of founders.
But you can take them as a starting point, maybe. This would be one option.
Yeah.
And then see, I mean, they have stories to share about people they interact with. People they have fights with, or people they kind of have predispositions.
Maybe they have their social network in their communities, in their homeless community.
I mean, they're not like, it's not a community, like if you sell the big issue, you also know other people on the street, right, who don't sell the big issue, or like, this is more like a tight-knit community, and then what you said, that the shelter is, I mean,
The kind of center.
yes, a good way, but then you have to again look at, I mean, who comes to the shelter again, it's with like the church, or like the shop, like, yeah.
There are homeless people who kind of systematically avoid
Don't go to the
those
shelter,
places.
yes.
Avoid those.
Yeah.
Definitely. So it will be, yeah. So you can get a certain set of people, like with the big issue sellers. People go to shelters or don't go to shelters. Then you could pin it down to a particular just location, like people who hang out near a certain train station or under a bridge. But again, then it starts the ethical stuff. In Lancaster, this is sometimes the case. Then that you don't put yourself at risk.
So I don't think that you will get ethical approval for what you have in mind. I don't think that you would get ethical approval for what you have in mind. That does not mean that you can't do it.
Oh God.
It just means that you will not get ethical approval for what you have in mind.
There's a lot in what you just said.
Yeah, it's recorded.
But they are definitely the top-down institutional approach.
Yeah.
Definitely. I mean, first to contact people who, not only because you want to go in top-down, but also to contact people who know what's going on right now on the street. Like maybe, okay, don't go there, or at this particular time of the day, or don't talk to those people because they are crazy, or whatever, like they are not in good shape. So this would be the first point of, would be, before even you do this, like asking people to contribute something, like really asking knowledgeable people, like, okay, who could I possibly ask? Like, even, like, not directly like asking the guy in the street selling the magazine, but also doing that because this seems quite safe, but also that if you want to have other people, just try maybe a kind of an institution who's dealing with this kind of poverty in the UK, and so many charities, shelters, and get a bigger picture, or hospitals. There's the Royal Free Hospital, which is kind of the Royal Free Royal, and there's one in London that actually takes the ones the other ones don't take. So where migrants go, if nothing else, if they don't get it because they don't have papers or something, then there's one hospital, one NHS based in London, apparently.
What kind of hospitals are?
It's called, I think, Royal Free Hospital.
Yeah, Royal Free Hospital.
Royal Free Hospital. That's a contradiction.
So those different places, so try to like maybe even what helps me, but I'm more because I like kind of maps. To map, take London, even like really make a big map of London, and then pinpoint different places you want to go to, like this charity in this street, that hospital there, this outpatient clinic, and NHS also has all of those outpatient clinics that take people who are destitute for a night or like for treatment. Like mapping different things and going there, trying stuff out. Many won't work, or many would say, I don't care, or I can't live with information, or so on. But try to map the city in a bit like, then you will see like, okay, where's there's the next step when you have marked this like sites, or not sites, but places where you inquire. They will tell you about places where they usually congregate and who's where and so on. That you can somehow map the city or make some kind of map of poverty and destitution in London. No, but just, you know, and see where places are to start asking.
So by the way, Miguel is talking tonight at 5:30, Jeffrey. Or please come.
Which one?
Jeffrey.
Jeffrey. 5:30.
Yeah. You should have received an email that you're not anymore. You are not anymore on the list, but those who are should. You know, since you you got it. Yeah. 5:30 tonight. Please come. Jeff, he will talk about his amazing research, and we will learn a lot. I think by the way, I think that we learn a lot about ethnography by reading ethnographies. Or this.
Yeah, exactly. Even more. I mean, this is super cool.
Yeah.
But shit, again. But papers like or books.
Yeah.
You know, books. I read for this terrible German course situation. I read it then to make sense of it by actually I think one of the most coolest ethnographies that I've read, how I got steampunk to languages at work.
Yeah.
Which is about Portuguese migrant workers in Canada and like how they make sense of their being migrant and in a way circumventing language policies and so on at the good place. Just not only because I was interested in the topic of migrant workers in Canada who speak Portuguese, I was not, but in the way the whole thing is portrayed and how it's done, basically, also from a stylistic point of view and kind of like how they read literature and so on. So this has always helped me super much when I work on PhD, like look for how other people do it.
By the way, my favorite ethnography, I always wanted to tell you and I forgot, and it's kind of relevant. My favorite ethnography is by someone called Julie Chu, who did an ethnography on illegal migrants in China. Mainland China,
So
Hong Kong,
they
not
migrate to
Singapore.
China or?
No, they migrate to.
In Canton, the Africans in Guangzhou.
Why didn't you tell me before?
They migrate to New York with kind of these
There are
containers.
a lot of illegal children.
Huh?
Black children.
No, Chinese.
Chinese people migrate to where?
So,
Illegal,
this is a hint because this guy always said, yeah, but nobody does research in China, right? That's not true. Actually, my favorite is called The Cosmologies of Credit. Julie Chun, I met her when I was in Chicago. She's a professor at the University of Chicago, by the way. And that's an amazing ethnography of this kind of these people who want to leave or never leave because they are immobile and not able to leave and hope that they can leave and go on one of these containers, but they are not. And then it's kind of this kind of the plans, right? The planning of mobility, but they never end up leaving. They want to go on one of those containers. Cosmologies of Credit. Julie Chun. No, Chu. Without N.
CHU.
Yeah.
Julie.
Yeah, you know how you guys are. She has a European name. Why? I don't know.
Yeah, the surname is very Chinese.
Yeah, so wait, let me just check again.
It's about immigration to the US.
Yeah, but the point is that then nobody migrates. Julie Chu. So
in China.
yeah. So they live in China mainland, and they want to leave, but they can't because they're stuck. And they plan, they strategize, they invest in things, they hopes, aspirations.
So who are they? They're Chinese people.
Chinese people can't live in China.
they wanna leave, they wanna go to the US. It's a
This is
constant.
nothing new. I'm so sorry. This is nothing new.
Yeah, but it's not. But nobody says it's
I
new.
will sacrifice everything to migrate to US. I think this is nothing new.
But nobody said it's new. I just said, I said two things. I said one thing 10 minutes ago, and I said, we learn a lot about ethnography by reading ethnography. Then I thought, okay, yeah, it's true. Actually, my favorite ethnography is by Julie Chu. And she is working in the US in one of the most prestigious departments of anthropology, doing amazing work in China, on Chinese mainlanders who want to leave but can't, and that's the ethnography, and it's nothing revolutionary, it's just, I love it.
I will read it.
So you love it for what kind of reason? I still don't get the reason you love it.
It's because it's very strong, it's very powerful. It's because we talk about migration, and it's always A, B, C, D. The maximum that we can say is that actually people have complex trajectories. Then we sometimes say people, the nationality doesn't really matter, but these people don't move. They don't move, and then this kind of whole aspirations, and then the kind of relations that they invest, and the kind of hopes, and that there is a whole economy around this hope, and then there is as well a lot about. So it's a bit ethnographic. She starts with an ethnographic piece where she kind of describes this kind of conversation that she has with one informant, that they kind of promise each other that they are going to have a coffee in New York as soon as the informant will have arrived, but she never arrives. And it's kind of very, very powerful. The way it is written, the way it is theorized, cosmology of credit. She makes a theory of this kind of social relations and dependencies. And she's amazing. And she's a very powerful scholar. And nobody cares about her, but she's kind of very, well. And she's in the most prestigious department of anthropology in the world. And she's genuinely Chinese. She works on China, mainland China.
I see this is why I like China.
It's German.
Yeah. You will have to pay so many pizzas.
No, I will not.
Sorry for those. We had a conversation. So he was complaining that nobody cares about China, nobody studies China, and that we should kind of focus more on China. And I thought,
Alfonso, please studying the people from my hometown, Fujianese. I'm Fujianese.
Yeah, voila.
That's why I was thinking about doing my PhD project on Chinese.
Yeah. It's a woman, by the way.
Yeah, a lot of people want to do similar research, but Chinese universities won't support it.
But this is what she said.
Maybe you get access through contacts you have, and ask, these academics are very helpful, and you explain your research and say, I want to get access. Would you have any advice,
I already have.
But the point is, I think I was thinking that when I was listening to you, is that sometimes, and I'm like this too, right? Sometimes you have to, we need to have access to this workplace, but have you asked yourself why? So why do you need to be there with them at work? Because it's basically super boring. I can tell you, you will sit there, you look at it. So what about the workplace? What about the school is important in your project? And isn't there, is what you're looking for, can't that be situated somewhere else? No. So we are kind of fixed with this kind of idea, you need to be there, and actually you're there, and then it's a mess. Yeah, that's boring.
That's on the first page of any ethnographic book.
What?
Like usually in the workplace,
What? There is an amazing book by called Working the Night Shift. You know that? Working the Night Shift. And it's not about working the night shift, but most of the ethnography is about the trips going from and to the night shift. The fact that the husbands complain that the wife are working the night shift, the effect that it has, the night shift, on kind of people's social life.
still small narratives, are they? Like small constructions or biographies of people that often tell you more than, you know, being placed in that space with respect.
I actually try to avoid being located in a important place.
I think that's fine.
I'm trying.
You don't have to avoid. It's amazing. If you can, it's great.
Because I can't just. Thank you. That's very helpful.
So this is our relation that we are having.
Is it work through the fire night shift?
Working the night shift. It's a friend of Bea's. How is she called? I used to forget her name. Working the night shift. No. Yeah, I'm gonna circulate it when I find it.
The night shift.
Yeah.
It's just called the night shift.
Yeah, it's about, you know.
Jesse Hartlem. Golden.
Yeah, you know, it's this kind of ethnography of this call center industry in India and what happens when, you know, all of a sudden you work for Americans or Europeans, you have to accommodate their kind of time zone, and completely changes your life because you work at night and you sleep when the other, you know, and how do you deal with your kids, how do you deal, and what happens when, you know, in these places where women are not supposed to be out at night, and all these kind of dynamics. That's the book, working the night shift, I think it's called. Yeah, working by Patel, exactly. Okay. 2010, here I have it, working the night shift, gender and the global economy. Working the night shift. Yeah.
Call center industry.